So we'll start with it in our regular, how you will see the problem set up. On occasion in our math lessons, we will see it set up in the area model. Well, they call it the place value sections method. Occasionally you'll see it set up this way. But most likely what you will see is what you're used to seeing is set up here kind of looking like long division. And then you will be expected on your own to be able to make the place value sections rectangle, just like you're doing for area model. So luckily for you guys, you've gotten super, super good at area model. So this one might be a little bit better for you. So I would, in your notebook, if you'll do me a favor, set it up the traditional way here. And then you're going to set it up with a 6 on the left side, because our 6 is what we're dividing by. And then you're going to have 3 sections because it is a 3-digit number. But I want you to stop there for a minute because this is where it changes a little bit. So if we were to do this, and I want to kind of explain it to you how we do it with multiplication, and then I want to kind of connect it to division, okay? So if we were to do this with multiplication, what we would do is we would take the 6 and multiply it by each side, right? Not exactly the same when we're doing this with division. So I kind of want us to kind of slow down, don't jump ahead, don't try to solve it yet. And we're going to talk through it, okay? So what you want to do is you're going to have this set up with a 738 in your first box. If you look at this, and I'm going to use a different color, you can kind of see how it looks like long division, right? So this kind of looks like the same thing as this. Set up here, but your 738 goes in one box. So if you want to make a note for yourself, maybe, I might write 1 box, because when you're doing this with multiplication, you're used to splitting it up, right? So maybe leave yourself just a little reminder, hey, this goes in 1 box. I'm no longer splitting it up like I'm used to, okay? So along the way, I'm going to give you guys a couple little pointers. Sound good? All right, so now what we are going to do, we are going to go step by step how to solve with this place value sections. So what you want to do first is you have to figure out how many times 600 will fit into 738. Because we're working, we have a 6, and we're working in the hundreds place. And so right here it says 6 times 100. The only thing that'll fit is 600. We can only have a 100 because after that it gets too big, right? All of a sudden we're at 1,200, it's too much. So because we have a 6 and we're multiplying it by 100 here, the first thing you do is you figure out how many times can it go into my hundreds place. Okay, well, it can only go in 1 time. So up here, we're going to have a 100. So on yours, go ahead and write a 100. And then we know for sure that 6 times 100 is 600. So you'll notice this is very similar to long division. I'm going to take it away. So in my hundreds place, I can only have 1 group. That is 600, and now I have to subtract. So you'll notice, you guys, it's very, very similar to long division. It's just going to look a little bit different because it's going to be split into sections, okay? So now I have 1 group of 600. I need to take it away. I'm left with 8 minus 0 is 8, 3 minus 0 is 3, 7 minus 6 is 1. So I'm left with 138. Now watch, this is so similar, again, to your long division. My remainder, this is kind of like my leftover so far, goes, I move it into the next box. So whatever is left over in my hundreds goes to my tens. Whatever is left over in my tens goes to my ones. I feel like this way is so much easier. So let's just kind of work through it together. So now what I have to do, I have to figure out how many groups of 10 well, so how many times can 6 be multiplied by 10s to get into 138? Well, I know for a fact that 6 times 10 is 60. Too low. 6 times 20, so 2 groups of 60 would give me 120. I can't go any higher because 6 times 30 would be 180. So just like long division, you guys, you want to get as close as you can without going over. So if I was to do 6 times 30, I'd be at 180. It would be too much. So same thing here. I want to get as close as I can without going over. 20 is as close as I could get. Same thing. Now I subtract. 8 minus 0 is 8. 3 minus 2 is 1. And then 1 minus 1, 0, I don't write it. Now I take whatever's left over in my 10s and I bring it to my 1s. So now I take my 18, I put it up here. And then I think to myself, how many times can 6 go into 18? Well, it can go in 3 times. I know 3 times 6 is 18. I subtract, I'm left with no remainder. So my answer is 123. 123. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Thoughts?
Good. I actually got it right, which I am happy.
I think it's a little bit easier, but that's just me. My thoughts for today is we were supposed to do place value sections and expanded notation method all in one day. Personally, I think it's too confusing to introduce 2 strategies at once. So what my goal for today is by the end of this lesson that you are comfortable with place value sections, which is this, and you're comfortable with long division, which we've already done. Then when you go to your lesson today, you can do, I want you trying both strategies, okay? So we're gonna hold off on this one for today. We're just gonna do our place value sections. So hopefully you guys have this in your notebook. And what's funny, you'll notice, because anyone look at this and tell me a connection between this and the area model multiplication. Take a quick second to look and tell me what you notice. Anybody? Faith, what do you notice?
So what I noticed is that they're getting pretty much they're all doing the same thing. They're trying to get the same answer. They're trying to get like.
Okay. And if we were to do an area model multiplication and we had 100, 20, and 3 up top, right? We would have 6. Let me do a different color for you guys so you can see this a little better. If we were doing multiplication, we'd have 6 times 100 is 600. 6 times 20 is 120. 6 times 3 is 18. So you guys see it's just the inverse of it. It's pretty cool. It ends up being exactly the same as area model multiplication, only we're just doing it backwards. So I'm hoping we can kind of see the connection here, and this should make it a little bit easier.
I just wanted to say, you know what I noticed from the answer of the whole thing? Mm-hmm. It's 1, 2, 3.
It was. Let's try this together. Let's just look. Number 1 is done for you, but I want to walk through it together, and then we'll do number 2 together, okay? So look right here, number 1. I'd probably write this in your notebook still, even though it's done for us. That way we can kind of talk through each step. And I'm going to actually use a highlighter this time. I'm going to highlight it in yellow. And that way you guys can see what we're talking about. So we have the sidewalk crew knows what the new sidewalk at the mall will need to be 3,915 square feet. I always circle my numbers because that helps me keep track, right? And it will be 9 feet wide. how long will it be? Well, I know that length times width gives me area, right? So area divided by width will give me length. So it's going to be division. My problem, if I was to set this up as long division, I'll write it up here for you guys. It'd be 3,915 divided by 9. That's what this would look like as long division. And then if we were to pull this apart and do it in the place value sections method, you'll see your 3,915 starts in your hundreds box, right? And then there's your 9. So again, we're kind of seeing this long division idea like come about, right? Do you guys kind of see that, how it's set up similar? But now what you're doing is you're just breaking it down by each place value. So rather than saying how many times does 9 go into 39, how you would do it with long division, you're saying how many hundreds will go into this. So if I look at this, I would still want to use my math facts, and you guys can still hide your zeros if you want, because you guys are good at that. If I was to hide my zeros, I'd say how many times does 9 go into 39? Well, I know 9 times 4 is 36. And then I know that 9 times 5 is 45. So that's too much, right? We can't ever go over. You want to get as close as you can without going over. So I know that 9 times 400 gives me 3,600. You go ahead and subtract. Whatever's left over comes up to your tens place. So I just take this 315 and I put it in my tens place. Now I need to figure out, okay, 9, and if you want, again, same thing. If you want to hide your zeros and just say how many times does 9 go into 31, that's fine. Well, I know that 9 times 3 is 27. So 9 times 30 would give me 270. 9 times 4 would be 36. It'd be too much. Okay, so that's as close as I can get. I put it down here. I subtract. Whatever's left over, pull up to the next box. Luckily, in this case, 9 times 5 is 45. I have no remainder and I'm done. So I want you guys to try, I'm going to change my pen color here. I want you guys to try number 2 in your notebook. So you're going to have what looks like this, and I would actually set it up exactly how it looks here. I'd have my 3 boxes, and then I would do blank 100, blank 10, and then a blank 1. Because that way you're never forgetting any zeros. I would absolutely set it up just like this. So I'll give you a quick second to set this up and then we'll talk about it, okay? All right, who could tell me where I need to place these numbers? I have 2 numbers I need to place. Where do I need to put them?
You need to put the 6 on the outside of the first spot.
Okay, and where do I put 2,748? Where does that go?
In the first box.
Good work. Thank you, Sophie. All right, now who can tell me what I need to do for my hundreds here? I'd love to hear from someone other than Sophie now. What do I need to do? PJ, Allison, Faith, Emma, Isaiah.
You need to find out how many times 100 go to 6.
How many times these 600 basically, right, at this point?
Yeah.
Or, like we said, PJ, you can hide your zeros right? And just say, how many times does 6 go into 27? If that's easier for you guys to say, hey, here, let me go like this. I want to hide these zeros, and then you know you bring them back because they're right there, right? So if you hide the last 2 digits, you know they're coming back up here. All right, PJ, so how many times does 6 go into 27?
6 goes.
Uh-oh, you still there?
6 goes into 27 4 times.
Okay. Can I get any closer, or is that it?
That's it. That's as close as you can go.
Good. Okay, so now I do the same thing like long division. 400 times 6 gives me, what is 6 times 4?
6 times 4 is 24.
Good. And then remember, I had those 2 hidden zeros. Whoops. So I just bring the zeros back. 0 and 0. All right, now I need to subtract. Eden, will you subtract for us? You with me, Eden?
Yep.
Okay. So what's 8 minus 0?
8 minus 0 is 8.
Yes, ma'am. What's 4 minus 0?
4.
Yep. And what is 7 minus 4?
7 minus 4 is 3.
Yes, ma'am. And then 2 minus 2 is 0, but again, we don't put anything there, right? So now we take whatever's left from our hundreds place and we bring it over to our tens place. So now I have 348. So now I can hide, if I want, if it makes it easier for me, I know I have a 0 up here. So if it's easier for me, I can hide this 0 down here. I can hide that 0 knowing that it comes back here, right? So now what I'm left with is I have, how many times does 6 go into 34?
I could do it.
Oh, what is it, Adrian?
It could go and 6 times.
Well, 6 times 6 is 36. So it'd be a little bit too much. So we're going to have to go down a notch. We're going to have to say 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Adrian, what is 6 times 5?
30.
30. Yeah, you're right. 30. And then we hit a 0, right? So we bring it back. So it's 300. All right, Adrian, what do I subtract now?
So 8 minus 0 is 8.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And 4 minus 0 is 4.
Good. And now, Adrian, what do I do with this number here?
You just bring it to the other box.
Yes, sir. So I bring it up here. Perfect. Now, look at this. 6 and 48 are very friendly, aren't they? Adrian, do you want to finish it for us?
Okay. 6 times, I think it's 7. No.
42. You could go one more. 6 times
What?
8. 6 times 8 is 48. So watch this, Adrian. 6 times 8 is 48. I can end up with absolutely 0 remainder. How nice is that? So then, Adrian, if I put all these numbers together up top, what is my answer?
It's 40.
Well,
It's 458.
yes, thank you. How many of you guys like this way? I feel like it's kind of nice.
I do.
Okay, good. I think it's a little more comfortable just because you guys have done this already with area model. And again, see the relationship. 6 times 400, 2,400 right here. 6 times 50, 300, it's right here. 6 times 8 is 48, it's right here. It's so similar. So what your job is today is you have